The class officers for next year have already been determined. Last week there was a SAD presentation. It was sponsored by the SAD Club, and it was brought by the MAD organization, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And it was just a multimedia presentation for the students about the dangers of drunk driving, and it was pretty effective, I think. Also last week there was a blood drive, and it was sponsored by the National Honor Society, and the Red Cross came in, and a lot of students donated blood. Also not like a town-wide thing, but it's something that a lot of students are going to be partaking in, is the Relay for Life, which goes from Friday to Saturday. I think North Reading High School has a team, and a lot of kids are also in participating teams. One thing that was brought to my attention is that the skating team, the North Reading High School skating team, which North Reading High School does have a skating team, they will have their first, and I think only competition, on Saturday, and that should be exciting. Tonight there's a girls tennis fundraiser at Fuddruckers. Also, Ultimate Frisbee ended last week, along with a lot of other sports, but I was on the Ultimate Frisbee team, and it was pretty successful, I'm going to say, for the first year. Mr. Schaefer, Rick Schaefer, was our coach, and he did a really great job. And our last game we went to Boston, and we played, I can't remember the specific name of the team, but it was a group of kids from different areas around Boston, and we played in Boston Common. It was really nice. Yeah. Softball and baseball. The baseball team won their league division, I believe, and the softball is still playing, and I'm sure they'll go into states and further their teams and everything. Also, last week the Eco team, which is a newer club at the high school, they sold canvas eco-friendly bags last week outside of lunch, and a lot of those members of Eco team, they decorated and they painted on the canvases to make them all unique and have a specific design, and they were selling them for $10. Also, there was a Holocaust display in the library, and I don't know if you can remember from the last time I was here, but I mentioned how in one of my classes we were watching Schindler's List, and Dr. Troden brought to my attention today that one of the viewers that watched it worked at Merrimack College, and she thought she was inspired, so she brought the display over to North Reading High School, so that was interesting. That's basically it, all the current news at the high school. And for my student work, I'm going to talk to you about my AP Biology final. And instead of doing a written exam, because we had the AP exam as part, for a final exam, we were assigned to write a paper on a bioethical issue of our choosing. And I think this is really unique. There were so many different topics to choose from, and the topic that I was assigned to was, when does a person have a right in regards to abortion, and when does a fetus have a right to live? And we have to look at all the different aspects of it and the different views and create our own opinion. I think it's very interesting. There's some crazy topics that you could choose from.
Questions?
And if you don't mind, the Ultimate Frisbee.
Yes.
Because it was its first season. I'm curious, how many students, and how many boys versus girls?
There was, I'm going to say a team of, I'm going to say 20 kids, a rough estimate, and there was one girl.
Really?
Yeah, there was one girl.
Why do you think that?
I think it's just being a first year, a lot of maybe girls were intimidated, and a lot of students probably too didn't really know about how to play Ultimate Frisbee, and were kind of ignorant and naive to how the game goes, and they weren't really sure. But I think as it progresses, I think more girls and the interest will be greater.
Did you play at Mullenfield? Was that?
Yeah, Mullenfield. Yeah.
I saw you playing one day. I almost crashed trying to watch it. I don't watch the game.
I think 20 students, and
pretty good.
that's a good turnout,
That's a good
and it's
turnout.
just another opportunity for extracurricular activities that we give the students, and it sounds like it was a good success. And my guess is we'll probably get more kids interested next year, because the beginning of the year they'll be coming in knowing they have that opportunity in the
That's a
spring
good
to
turnout
play.
for the first time.
Yeah.
Any questions? How? Okay.
And you had plenty of matches. That's a
yeah.
popular sport?
Actually, I was surprised to see that we had a game almost every day. I think we had more games than practices, so there's so many other teams from around the area that were willing to.
Would you consider that an athletic competition?
Yes.
Maybe we can start charging athletic users.
I was looking for the angle there. So instead of 125, 400,
Yeah, we could hit you up for
300,
400.
yeah.
We'd be all
Maybe
right.
the varsity team would mind.
Well, great.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. Any other questions, comments? Great, thanks, Patrick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's jump back in here and let's bring up the Little School Council to talk to us about their improvement plan.
Anybody else need?
Here we are again. Even though our traffic moves slowly, the little school just continues to speed right along, achieving its goals for the 2007-2008 school year. This should only take about 65 minutes.
Jerry loves these.
I know that. I think of him when I plan. I think I can see his face in a bubble.
I do enjoy this. It's
I
our
know
goal.
you. I know you. You've had this in advance, so I'm really not going to go through a great amount of it. I just want to, first of all, acknowledge the members of the school council who dutifully come every month. Co-chair Chris Smalley. Chris is a first grade teacher at the little school, and seems like forever we have, we're, in terms of not teaching at the little, but serving as a mentor to Chris and her MESPA program that will lead to certification as principalship. So right now we're doing the practicum. The other one was the pre-practicum, and so Chris has been involved in many parts of school life from the principal's point of view. And she did attend that traffic meeting in my absence also. So Chris has served as the co-chair. Phil Lynch was a teacher representative. Deb Putney, who's here tonight, is also co-chair of the PTO, has served as a parent rep. Brian Sullivan, Jerry Farley, Mrs. Bernard, Lisa Bernard, who's here tonight, who has a 5th grader and will be leaving the little school. Judy Hajar, who replaced Ken Shapiro from the community representative from McDonald's. And Donna Prentice, who was a former little school teacher and a community rep, and myself as chair. There were a variety of topics that we discussed this year that are repeats every year, and then some new ones also, and including the Houghton Mifflin Balanced Literacy Program, the benchmark testing that's done in the system, refining those tests in math and in language arts, Open Circle, cultural enrichment, community service, Teradyne, North Reading Initiative, health and wellness, inclusion, school programs and activities, school and system-wide budget development and status, funding for education at the local and state levels, staffing, full-day kindergarten, enrollment, after-school enrichment, MCAS, KES prep course, time and learning, mass ed reform updates, curriculum frameworks, science fair, reading incentive programs, standards-based report cards, strategic planning, state testing, administration and results, professional development, technology, school safety, curriculum development, PTO activities, fundraising, cultural enrichment, and teacher wish list purchases. So there's an incredible, an agenda is published each month, and we go through topics and have some good discussions. School profile, again, I've listed the teaching spaces and class size. The only difference this year might be the addition of that SEAM class that Dr. Troughton had mentioned. Where we will have space for them. There were some questions about a separate room for speech and language services and all that. The enrollment, what I always do is give you the enrollment for this year and then the anticipated enrollment for next year, and that's as accurate up to the second as we have, and that includes everything we know up to this point in terms of students who may be retained or are being retained, moving or entering the system. And again, for next year, the teacher-pupil ratio 20.7 to 1, and all classes will enroll 23 or less. The highest enrollment in grades 2 and 3, and the lowest in K and 1. There's a staffing list there, and on the second page of the staffing list, under the special subject staff and the SPED staff, very thrilled and thank you to the townspeople as well as the school committee for the additional $1.5 people, and I'll be doing something, it'll be in special ed and reading, and I'll be combining one person with reading and sped, and the other person as a 0.5 learning center teacher. That will certainly go a long way to assist us. I need to say a word about PTO. I mentioned that Deb is one of the co-chairs, and Sue Ladowski is the other co-chair. And as usual, I have nothing but the highest regard for the people who raise all the funds, and not just raise the funds, but set a tone for the building and for new people coming into the school. And I have listed the members of the 2007-2008 board. They'll actually vote tomorrow for the 2008-2009 board, and that's why those were all blanks in here. But so, again, you've read this, but they did a great trivia night, and Dr. Troughton was there this year, and that was Chris Molly's idea from another school in another town that she had participated in. That was a lot of fun, and they raised a lot of money for that. But it was more fun in a community building, and that's what they try to emphasize, not just the raising of the funds, but community building within the school. And I'm very proud to say that we have 3 smart boards. One is fully installed and operational. The other 2 are going to be shortly. They've purchased digital cameras and printers, and there are, you can see the page of very many the different activities that they run. But I just want to highlight a few, and because the PTO does touch every single child in the school, even though not all parents can become involved in the PTO because of work schedules or whatever. Every child in grades 3, 4, and 5 gets an assignment planner. And that's the expectation of little school, that planner is maintained and checked by parents and teachers. Every child, actually it's extending to every child, it was only grades 3, 4, and 5, they purchase subscriptions to either National Geographic, Scholastic News, Time for Kids, or Kids Discovery magazine. From next year, K1 and 1 will be included also. And that's as another teaching device, and it really allows kids the opportunity to get in the habit of reading a newspaper to find out information. And again, I'm not going over the North Reading Food Pantry Drive. It's a very strong connection of our school to the food pantry, and that children are taught to give and be part of stocking the food pantry for people who aren't as fortunate. And that was, not only do we take a whole month to do that this year, we also had the opportunity to connect with a former little school student who was working for his Eagle Scout Award, and he participated and extended that for several months at the school also. The little school, high school scholarship donation, stipends provided to teachers and specialists in September. Each student in the school gets a $10 donated towards a field trip. They produced, and you realized this recently, they revised their PTO bylaws. They've obtained, I guess it's a lot of work, obtained our own tax ID number from the IRS, and that requires a lot of book work and all that afterwards. And they produced and distribute a very nice, every year, a very nice school-wide yearbook, a real classy, well-presented notebook. All the enrichment programs are listed here. It's amazing what they've done and what they do every year. The research that goes into it, the coordination with the teachers to make sure it's a match to the curriculum. There were 18 programs this year. The enrichment budget was $8,000, and $1,850 in grants were approved from the Mass Cultural Council, and $750 from the Winchester Hospital Community Health Institute also. And the board's in there. Did I leave anything about these? I just can't say enough about what they add to the school and the funds that they provided in lean times. The professional development is the next section, and again, the involvement of the staff. Not only do they get involved in their own professional development, selecting courses and areas of study which support what they have chosen as school goals, personal goals for their professional development, but things such as the implementation and creation of district-wide benchmark assessments in English, language arts, and math. I know Pam has worked very hard with the teachers on that throughout the system. Open Circle, we finally got through grade 5. It's an expensive program to train staff, but we finally have, this year, has